That was also the time when we became Christians. And my wife is 60, and I turn 60 next month. And so we are really grateful to be alive, to be together. And after 10 years having no children, we gave up to have children. And then a few months later, we became one in a normal way, in a natural way. And then we didn't know how to stop, so we got 3 in a 4-year time. And we are really, really thankful to be able to be husband and wife and parents. That's such a great privilege. I mean, it's one of the biggest things you can get from God in your life. I live in Holland. I'm a Dutch guy. So if you think he is talking some strange things, just think this is Dutch. And he isn't even a theological guy. So you just take what is important for your heart. I would like to take you on a little journey. Resilience, finishing the marathon. Because we know how to go fast and powerful, but it can be a helpful thing to also know how to finish the marathon, which is a different style, it's a different work, it's a different attitude. I want to talk a little bit about why is that important in 2017. What is resilience? What is it, in fact? About some competences. There are about 7 competences you can train and develop, and your training. I would like to start with a beautiful verse that really speaks to my heart. Isaiah, he always speaks to my heart. I mean, if you want to be motivated, read Isaiah a few times. It's not always motivating, but there are beautiful things in it. Just this little verse of chapter 40, verse 29. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youth grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. So God invites us to go the long walk, to really go with Him. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. If our hope is in God, we are able to have and stay in resilience. There was a guy called Caleb. Caleb and Joshua, you know the two. They were sent out in the new country and in the promised land, and with 10 others, and they came back. 10 of them, the others, said, let's not go there. And Caleb and Joshua said, let's go there because God is with us. So there were a few million Jewish people around, and what did they say? What did they want to do with Caleb and Joshua, who brought this vision of hope? They wanted to stone them. So be careful with the message of hope. It might be that people don't want to hear it. And actually they wanted to stone them, and then God said, stop for a moment, don't kill them, they are mine, so let's relax and all go into the jungle or in the desert and stay there for about 40 years till this whole generation dies, and then the next generation can try again. So that's a very short words in a Dutch way how it was. Then 45 years later, it says, I'm never sure if it's 40, 45, then they stand again in front of this country, and Moses has gone to heaven, and then Joshua and Caleb are standing there, and Caleb says to Joshua, this is Joshua 14, you can read it, he says, I am now 85 years old. 45 years ago, God promised me this country. I am 85 years old and still as strong as I was 45 years ago. So give me this country. Hey, that's a marathon, huh? With 85, to be as strong when you were 40. And this was obviously necessary because God prepared him for this big thing. So I see that God loves us. He doesn't want to kill us. We will be killed or die or whenever. We have that not in our hands. But we can also, together with God, find out how should we then live. So let me tell you a little bit on why I think in 2017 resilience is important. We talk about the society today with these four words. It's called VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That expression comes from the training of SEALs, commandos. What do they do in a training? And a colleague of us, her husband, is in the commandos. So what do? They put a bag on your head and some things in your ear that you don't hear anything, you don't see anything. They put a rope on your ankles and they bind you to the ceiling of a big room. So you're hanging at the ceiling with one foot, you don't see anything, you don't hear anything, and then they create a VUCA room, which is full of noise, terrible things, and they give you, hanging on the ceiling, a gun. I never was in the military, so I have never experienced that. But this is the commando training. And the VUCA room is full of surprises. It is volatile, a lot of risks. It's uncertain, you don't know what to do. It's complex, many things happen at the same time. And ambiguity, what you see is not what you get. Then they take off the bag of your head, the plug out of your ears, and then you're there. And then you have to survive. So VUCA actually is the expression of a war zone. Now, interestingly, we describe the world as a war zone. That's interesting. I am not afraid of that. Actually, I am a little bit excited. So, let me give you a very few ideas what that means. Volatility. We have at the moment 30 volatile projects. What is a volatile project? That is a project that influences more than 1 billion people when it happens. So it's a risky thing that when it explodes, it will have an impact on more than 1 billion people. A volatile project is, for instance, water. There's not enough water. Water is like the new precious thing, more precious as oil. If this explodes, and we just had almost a war in India about water, if this explodes, it will impact more than 1 billion people. Another volatile project are the 800 million Chinese farmers. 800 million Chinese farmers who are really poor and totally irritated about 200 million rich Chinese. And they don't want to take it anymore. If they explode, it will impact all China, it will impact all of us. So these kind of projects we have 30 at the moment at the same time. If just 3 or 4 explode, we will have a very interesting society. That means that you as a business person cannot predict anymore what will be the future in the next 5 years. It's just not possible anymore. The solution for the future is not to know what happens in the future, is to be prepared for anything. What would you think about Brexit? Is that a volatile project? No, that's peanuts. That's a very small thing concerned to these things. That's just one country and a little bit Europe and some very complicated things. But that's not a volatile project. We're talking about bigger things. Uncertainty, another one in uncertainty is the year 2035. Very conservative voices in Davos 2 weeks ago would say conservatively 50% of all the jobs will be automated by 2035 worldwide. 50% of all the jobs which are currently jobs will be gone by automation and robots. That is not a terrible thing, but that is a challenge. How are we going to handle that? Another one is that of the Fortune 500, the biggest companies in the world, in 2025, out of the top 500 companies, 40% will not be in the top 500 companies anymore. 40%. So if you thought your security is to be in a big company, that will not be true. That makes people uncertain. How shall we then plan? How shall we then live? Do I get a pension? Then complexity. there is something what we would call a Moonshot Project. A moonshot. That is a project that impacts a product that impacts more than 1 billion people, more than 1 billion customers, and will do something 10 times better as every other product. So it's 1 billion products, 1 billion people will be affected with something that is 10 times better than all other products. And it is in phase 4 out of 5 phases of development. So it will come on the market in the next 3 to 4 years. That's a Moonshot Project. How many do you think the company Google at this moment has Moonshot Projects? How many do you think? One company. 50, yeah. Google has 100 Moonshot Projects. They are going to change, only they are going to change the technical development in the next few years in a radical way. Then Amazon has 20, Uber has 3, Apple has 40, something like that. So there are another 100 by just a few companies who have Moonshot Projects at this moment ready. I think that is exciting. That's fun. But it's also complex. Because how are you going to make your product work for the next 5 years? How do you know that your product will be relevant in the next 5 years? That's interesting. So these 200 Moonshot Projects will be bring complexity in a way that we have not yet seen. Do you know the half-time of science? That in science, like in IT, every 4 years, the international knowledge, applicable knowledge of IT, doubles every 4 years. Every 4 years, we know we have 2 times as much information, applicable knowledge, as we have today. What do you think is the doubling of the applicable knowledge in the medical world? So average is 4 years, average is 4 years, IT is 1.6, or 1.5 years, sorry, 18 months. What is in the medical world? The doubling of knowledge. Yeah, it's 6 months. That's why if you have today a therapy, in a year later it can be completely different. So we have a very interesting society. We already had this kind of a society in World War II. It was very volatile, very uncertain, highly complex for those times. We had this already in the year 500 after Christ, when in Europe all the people were running around the whole country here. But we never had it as complex as this. So ambiguity is the 4th topic, is we don't know if something is true anymore. Have you ever heard about fake news? You should have heard. And this is true because we don't believe CNN anymore. We don't believe Facebook anymore. I'm happy that we don't believe Facebook anymore. We should never believe it. But the topic is we have no clue when we hear something if it is true. So the question, if you get information for your business, for your personal life, for your children, for your future, is this information true? You cannot ask the question, what is the information? You need to learn to ask the question, why is somebody telling me this information? So the big question today we need to learn to ask, to live in this society, is the why question. Who on earth is capable of asking the why question when he's reading the newspaper? That's what happened in Brexit. People had no clue what they were talking about, so they were voting for something which is funny, because they really had no clue. They were not able to ask the why question. So the why question becomes the more important question as the what question. So living in this world, we need to ask ourselves, what kind of leaders do we need? And there are some thoughts about this. Today we would say we need what we would call transformational leaders who can transform their business all the time to be able to cope with this society. those people need three things. First of all, we call that self-mastery. Self-mastery is not doing everything myself, but leading myself. I see many CEOs who are fantastic CEOs, but not leading themselves, and doing little stupid things that destroy themselves. Self-mastery is the number one for leadership. Secondly, team mastery. Can you imagine that you have no clue where the world is going, and that you as a lonely individual person are not able to lead an organization well? You need a team. You need people to think together, to pray together, to listen together, to develop together. The individualist leader will not have a clue what to do in this society today. So you need to learn to build teams around yourself, but also in your company. And the third one is organizational. Organizational mastery. To design an organization that will able to work here needs some mastery. How do you do that? Because every environment needs a different organization. A church is a different organization as a non-profit organization, as a business. They need a specific design to be able to live here. So let's look, what is then a transformational organization? And again here there are three things we believe today are necessary to be able to build. First of all, you will need a business and organization that has mission and purpose as the basic of everything you do. If there is no mission and purpose for your organization, that you will bring a real contribution to this society, you have no healthy organization. Why is this? This is because the new generation, the millenniums, will only go to organizations who have a clear mission and purpose to serve society through the products, through what they do. And then the best of them will go to these organizations. That's one of the reasons why Google can attract the best, but they cannot keep them. The best go to Google just for 3 or 4 years, and then they move away to other organizations who have a concrete purpose and mission to serve society. Secondly, you need a resilient organization that is able to absorb shocks, that is able to absorb pressure, that is able to absorb setback. But if you have no mission and purpose, you will have no resilience. It's very interestingly. Also in our private life, if we have no mission and purpose in life, we will have no resilience to make the marathon. And then thirdly, you need an agile organization. And that is an adaptable organization that can work in new ways, be innovative, and learn what you need to learn to answer all these new products and problems. So building a transformational organization starts with building a mission and purpose, building a resilient organization, and an agile organization. The last communication from Harvard was that they say, if you want to kill your company, make it agile. If you want to kill your company, make it agile. That means if you just want to have an agile, very flexible, adaptive organization, and no resilient below that, and no meaning below that, then you will kill it. So agility is not the solution. It's a package. So let's look what that means, and why in 2017 it's also important to have personal resilience in our lives. This is normal life. This is energy, plus and minus. Normal life is up and down. This is normal life. So, but if you do this on a high level, we call that hyperactivity, then you are in the first phase of a burnout. So, phase number 1 in a burnout, 1 is called hyperactivity. Hyperactivity. Then it can go down all the way this way, and there are a few phases you can easily recognize. The second phase, is then confusion. You get confused. What am I doing? You get tired. You get back problems. You start to be irritated. You don't sleep well. You forget things. You smell and you feel that the energy is going away. You become insecure. Confusion is a beautiful phase because then you know there is something happening. I can get out. And you don't need a coach or a therapist. You can just step out and start to live a normal life. We Christians shouldn't have a normal life, right? We should have a crazy life. Then you're a real good Christian. Well, I'm not sure. Well, the next phase, if you don't step out, you go into the third phase, and they call that frustration. Frustration is not some frustration. That is when you do not sleep at all anymore, or not good, that you have all kind of problems, you are frustrated about yourself, about everybody. You have the feeling that you're the only person who really works, and the rest are idiots. That's when you have lost so much energy that you feel a victim. But the good message is you can step out, although here you need a person to support you to develop a normal, healthy lifestyle to become able of running the marathon. If you don't do that, you go below zero. And that obviously, we call this one despair. If you come into the despair area, then you're not able to work anymore. In frustration, you take a week holiday and you come back. But if you don't do anything, you need another week and another week. But in despair, you're out for a year. The good message is, before your 40th birthday, you only need 1 year to recover. Over 40, you need 2 years. So if you plan a burnout, do it before 40. It's really clever. The same with a heart attack. If you have a heart attack over 50, then your chances are double better to survive it as if you have a heart attack before 50. So plan your heart attack over 50 and your burnout under 40, you're relatively safe. I'm not sure if this is the right way. Yeah? If you go in despair, many people will do. 12% of society comes in that situation. Then you go to the next level, that is recovery. And recovery is then the fifth phase. The question in recovery is, do you get out over zero, on zero, or below zero? You will see people after a burnout are not able anymore to work for the rest of their lives. That's realistically. You also see people coming out at zero, and 2 years later they have the next burnout, and 3 years later they have the next burnout. It becomes a rhythm. And you will see people, about 20%, who will come out on top of the zero and have a normal, healthy life for the rest of their life. So it is not a fun thing. It is not something to joke about. It is a real thing. It is really happening. So let me give you a few numbers. Europe, professionals with burnout symptoms, it's about 12% of the professional population. They have one of the 5 burnout symptoms. Actually, not hyper, but they call that from confusion till the whole thing here. The cost for sleep deprivation in the USA, new numbers. In the USA, they are really specialists in sleeping little. I saw once an ad of a guru trainer who had a picture on his Facebook who said, "Sleep is for the weak. If you want to be successful, don't sleep so much." And then he boasts that he can sleep with 5 hours. People who sleep less than 6 hours a night have a 200% more chance on a heart attack as people who sleep more. So the cost of sleep deprivation only in the USA is $85 billion every year. So this is a conservative goal, perspective. This is a lot of money. The cost of burnout in Germany, and Germany, I mean, they don't have burnout. You know, they are all strong. That is about 40 billion euros, that's even better as euros, as dollars a year. That's money, right? 40 billion is a lot of money, the cost of burnout. Doctors that will experience burnout in Germany once in their career in Germany is 22% of all doctors will experience a full-fledged burnout. So we are talking about something that people are really mistreating themselves. Now maybe you think, well, this is not for Christians, because we have no problem with that. For us, it doesn't exist. So let me tell you a few numbers of very Christian Christians. They are pastors. Then you are the real cool Christian, right? The real professional one. And these are numbers from a lot of research done in the USA. So you can always say, well, in Europe it's not. It's always nice to look at others. But just for an idea, in the USA, pastors work 90% of them between 55 and 75 hours a week. You would say, well, that's normal. We all do as business people. Okay. So pastors in the USA, 50% feel unable to meet the demands of the job. 50% feel unable to meet the demands of the job. 70% feel grossly underpaid. Maybe they are underpaid, but they feel underpaid. 90% of all pastors in the USA feel inadequately trained. What is that kind of a profession? That's strange, right? 70% constantly fights depression. So this is the Christian part. Right? 50% feel so discouraged that they would leave the ministry if they could, but they cannot, because they need to get the pay. 80% believe pastoral ministry has negatively affected their whole family. 80% of these people feel that their being pastor greatly negatively affected their family. And then a very interesting one, 70% of them have no close friend. No close friend. 4,000 new churches are started in the USA. 4,000, well, that's fantastic. 7,000 are closed every year. 4,000 started, 7,000 closed. So don't think that we as Christians are much better in this. Actually, the mafia is much better. They don't have hardly any problem with burnout. They shoot somebody, if they get irritated, they feel better. So, but actually, we are the nice guys. Yeah? Just a few numbers. McKinsey, you know McKinsey, they did a thorough research on the connection between leadership and sleeping enough. And they said healthy leadership needs 7 to 8 hours sleep. Healthy leadership needs 7 to 8 hours sleep. But 43% of all people they investigated on middle management and higher level management, 43% sleep less than 6 hours and kill their companies by it. So company Shell, they had a 10-year anti-stress training. Whoa, that's good, huh? 90,000 people, 50,000 were in the training. As they started, they had a 6% sick leave. After 10 years, what was the sick leave? 10 years of training, 50,000 people in the training of the 90. It still was 6%. So they stopped all that training. They said, no, that's not what we're paying training for. The trainers obviously said, yes, but if you would not have done it, it would be worse. So they said, no, forget about it. Let's turn it around. Let's not fight stress. Let's build up resilience. So they started their own resilience program. You can find it in Google, Shell Resilience Program. They've done it now for 4 years. And after this training, and 40,000 people have been in the training of 90,000, they have dropped to 2% sick leave. That's significant different. And why do they do it? Because they are so social? No, they don't want to have that image. And they don't want to pay all that money. So Bristol is another one. You know the city Bristol in England? Yes. I never heard about it, sorry. But it's a city with 450,000 people. 2008, a married couple said, we want to change our city. And they said there are 8 things that people need to learn to have a resilient and healthy life. So they called it the 8 steps of resilience. And they started to train in preschools and schools. And they said, we want to become the most happy and healthy city of the UK. 2015, they became the most happy and healthy city of the UK. In 8 years' time. Interesting, huh? 2016, they became the 4th most inspiring city in the world. Bristol, I mean, I didn't even know the name. They are now the number 4 most inspiring city of the world. So I was thinking, what are they doing? In 8 years' time, just one couple, 2 people. Now, last year also, the mayor of Bristol was elected to one of the 3 most influential Christians in the UK. Interesting, huh? If you see their program, there is nothing about Christianity, but I think there are a lot of Christians involved because the churches are involved, the business is involved, the university is involved, the government is involved, they have social projects. They have turned around the city in 8 years. And they call it a resilient city. So if we want to live a personal resilient life, that's the first step. Then we can build a resilient organization. Then we maybe can build also a resilient city. Should we do that? It's your choice. I don't think about the city at the moment. I firstly think about myself. Because I want to be the person God has called me to be. So what is resilience? It is the competence and capacity to handle feedback, to handle stress, to handle change, to handle criticism, to handle trauma, to handle fear. I think that somebody like Paul, we just heard this morning about, was highly resilient. Not because he was so cool, but he put all his hope in God. And he did some things that made it a resilient lifestyle. So, the pioneer of this was called Dr. Aaron Antonovsky. He did research on women, Jewish women who survived the Holocaust. 5,000 of them came back to Israel. And he found out that 30% of them had a post-trauma growth. They had a terrible trauma, but after that they were healthy, positive, long-living people, 30%. 70% of them had a post-trauma stress disorder, were unhealthy, lived shorter life, and were depressed. Should we blame the 70%? Never. We have no clue what they went through. But they found out that the 30% who did the same terrible trauma had a totally different start before they went into the concentration camps. They were different people, different education. They had a high level of resilience. So that's when it started that the world started to talk about resilience. Now, actually, resilience is about 7 different competences. It's about social resources and structural resources. Structural resources. There are 7 competences you can train, but first of all, you need some capacity to be able to train those competences. The social resources are, first of all, positive friends. If you are around cynical people all the time, you will become cynical. If you are around positive friends, you will become positive. So this kind of friends you have determines your social resources. Secondly, They call it an appreciative family. If you are living in a family where each person appreciates, honors each other, you will have huge social resource and resilience. What do you do if you do not have an appreciative family? You need more positive friends. Or you become an appreciative father or mother yourself, or child. Thirdly, interesting is inspiring leaders. People who have inspiring leaders have much more energy from their social impact as people who have not. There you see why leadership is so important in any organization. And finally, supporting mentors. That's why mentoring is such a big thing now also for CBMC. People with 1 or 2 mentors who go with them along the way, give them feedback, have much higher level of social energy and social resources. Structural resources is job matches talent. If you do a job where you have no talent for, it will cost you much more energy as if you have a job where you put your talent into action. Who is responsible for this? The HR department. It's yourself. Secondly, they call that mastery. If you grow in the gifts God has given you, you get energy from the growing experience. If people stop growing in their personal talents and gifts, they will stop growing in their energy. Actually, that's why you never should retire. Retirement is dangerous. As when you stop to put your talents into action, if you don't put your talents into action anymore, you lose energy and you lose the reason for life. If you are 3 weeks in a hospital, your brain's reduced for 30% on capacity. So mastery is the need and the challenge and the invitation to use all that you have and keep on growing. Thirdly, stress. You need stress to be happy. If you never have stress, you will have no resilience. The best way to destroy your children is to really spoil them. The first 6 years of a life, the first 6 years of a child is the most important to build up a stress level. If they don't have stress, the rest of their life, they have a very low stress level. So don't kick your children, don't beat them, that's not the solution. But please, don't avoid anything that could happen. Stress is important for us to stay healthy. You have also negative stress, obviously. Fourthly, healthy finances. I work 14 weeks a year in South Africa. In 5 trips, I'm there. We have a whole team. And we work also with people from townships. I have seen mothers in townships who have healthy finances, although they have almost no money. But they have healthy finances. They're well organized. They can do what they need to do. I know really rich people who have totally unhealthy finances because they have no clue how to handle it. So it's not about the lot, it is about how you handle it. So finally, resilience are 7 different competences you can train. And I quickly go by them. Just of the time, we don't dive into them a lot, but just to get an idea. First of all, it is what we call a reconciled past. There is a saying of a German philosopher. He says, "He who does not know, accept, forgive, and embrace his story, he who does not know, accept, forgive, and embrace his story cannot enjoy today." He will always try to be better, different, whatever. He cannot plan his future in a meaningful way. Meaningful way. Because he will always be driven from the unsolved past of his own life. And interesting for us as leaders, he who does not know, accept, forgive, and embrace his story will lead his people to destruction. And you can say this with like 100% surety. We have seen many leaders who have not came to a grip with their own past, and they led their whole people or countries or companies to this disaster. So if we want to have a resilient lifestyle, we need to have a reconciled past. The good news is we as Christians have the cross. That makes us, what I think, the only people on earth who can easily do this. Because we don't have to do it. We have Christ who went to the cross for us. And still, why are we as Christians not doing it? We have the best opportunities. We have Him who can reconcile us with our past, but still we don't do it. I have seen non-Christians doing this much better. In Rwanda, you know Rwanda, where the Tutsi and the Hutsi, they fought each other, they killed each other. Many people who survived had to come to grasp with their past. They had to learn to forgive the killers of their parents. So they have installed forgiveness schools. On 7 evenings, you learn how to forgive. Not from a Christian perspective, just how to forgive. And they forgive, and they become free. Hey, hello. We as Christians are privileged to be able to do this far better, far more. A reconciled past is the beginning of a healthy lifestyle. Realistic optimism. Realistic optimism means not blue-eyed optimism, but it means the faith and the self-trust and the self-respect that God has called you, and that whatever will come, you will stand up to it. People not with God can do that. We with God, with Christ, should be able to do that. But it doesn't happen automatically. Interestingly, one way how to build up realistic optimism they would call is live a life of thankfulness. People who are thankful every day live 7 years longer, are more optimistic, have much better relationships, and are much healthier, sleep better, a whole list of things, just by being thankful. Hey, the Bible tells us all the time to be thankful. There is nothing new under the sun. The third one is problem-solving competence. This is the reality that I am not a victim, but I take responsibility. People who feel like a victim will always destroy themselves and lose all their resilience. Fourthly, using your natural talents. We already saw that in the resources. If God has given you talents and you bury them in the earth and you don't do anything with it, it will destroy you. But taking those talents, accept your past and what is given to you, and doing something with it and developing them will make you a healthy person. So how are you working with your natural talents? The fifth thing is discipline. And I just want to take that one. I prepared all the others, but we don't have so much time. So I will look at discipline because it's a nice one. No, discipline is always nice. Very simple. Discipline means healthy movement, healthy spirit, healthy sleep, and healthy food. Healthy movement is 10,000 steps. And it is power training. Muscle training. As I was 40, I had a hernia. Can you say that, hernia? I was a trainer and talking about sport, but not doing it. I said, it's very important. I also do sport. And then I went once a month to play tennis, to justify that I can talk about sport. So suddenly I couldn't get out of my bed anymore because I had this back thing. And it was terrible. I was fearful. I thought, I'm going to lose my job, everything. And by God's grace, in 2 weeks I could walk again. And I still remember I needed to walk again because after 4 days I need to do a training. So I went to the training like this. I said, hello, we are going to talk about leadership. Today I'm not in a really good shape, but I can talk. Yeah, I speak. So this was very embarrassing. And they laughed, and they found it, and they thought, oh, great that you still came, fantastic. Yeah? So I had to change my lifestyle. I could not only talk about sport, I had to do it. So I changed my lifestyle. Now I'm climbing, rock climbing. In Holland we have no mountains, so we do that in a hall with my whole family. And I know I need to do this because the back thing will not go away. But it's also fun. It's important to have a healthy movement. If you want to do the marathon, you need to invest a little bit more as just talking about it. Healthy spirit, the topic is quiet. Can you become quiet daily? Can you become quiet, just listening, opening your spirit for God's spirit? I'm not a fantastic guy in this. But I have learned that I need to do it, and I want to do it, but it takes my discipline to do it. Healthy sleep, all normal people need 7 to 8 hours. Only 2% in the world population can handle 6 hours. Nobody can handle less. Sorry to say for you. Whoever tells something else is a crook. And I can be really angry about those people because they destroy whole nations by talking blah blah that it is not necessary. Being very cool. Fassbinder, he said once, I don't need to sleep, I can sleep in heaven. And he died when he was 38 years old. And you see all these fantastic persons talking about not sleeping, and when they turn 60, they have an early dementia, and they go around like this, and somebody has to wipe off their back because they were not able to sleep normal. I can be very angry about that, because people destroy their life and the life of everybody around them by just not sleeping. Hello? Healthy food. Very simple. Enough. Enough is enough. And I have no other clue. But there is too much. And you can organize that. But this is discipline is one of the topics. Passion and meaning. Person who have a passion and a meaning in their life, they feel called by God to make a difference, have a much higher resilience. And finally, healthy relationships. We have this little picture, and this I will close with. As a leader, you need healthy relationships, and a way how to train that is to surround yourself with a support team of mentors. You have a mentor in the workplace who is further as you, more senior, but you also have mentors who are at your same level, where you do co-mentoring, learning from each other. Have a tribe, have an intervision group. And you have mentees. Serving young people in the workplace will also serve you. I have 3 young people I serve as a mentor. Whoa, they pay my lunch. And we have a great lunch, and I learn from them. On the private side, you have examples. People in your life or from history who really speak to your heart, who resonate with you. Learn from them. They can be your mentors. When they are dead, don't talk to them. When they're still alive, you can talk to them. But all of them can be great examples and really learn you in life. Partner and friends. My wife is one of my best friends, but she's also a great mentor for me, and I am for her. That is not enough. I also need friends who talk to me in a different way. And kids are people in my life who I serve, but I learn so much from them. So resilience is a thing about social resources you can develop, structural resources, and competences you can train. The question is, choose just one of those and train it. The solution is not try to do everything. In your little work map, you have a little test. You can fill in and find out what is the strongest and the weakest of this. Focus on one for 1 year to train it in little baby steps. It's okay when I pray at the end? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Father, that you love us, that you have designed us, and you made no mistake. You designed us after your image, And we did a lot of ruining of that, but you made us whole by Christ. And I really want to ask you for my brothers and sisters that together we can grow in a healthy way, close to you, Jesus, close to you, Father, close to you, Holy Spirit. We need you to do the marathon. And we put our hope on you, so we will go like eagles, and we can finish the job. In Jesus' name, amen. You're welcome.